Well, if you're like millions and millions of Americans and are waiting for some form of stimulus from the federal government, then you need to watch this video right here. Because today we're going to talk about the Doge dividend checks, what the current update is regarding those checks, how much they could potentially be, what President Trump is doing, and his plan has actually been revealed. I want to break all this down because right now there's a lot of speculation that there's nothing coming to the American people. There's cuts for this program and that program. Well, let's put all those speculations to bed. Let's put them all to rest, and let's actually get to the bottom of this right now. So that's what we're going to do in today's video. Keep in mind, when it comes to the Doge dividend checks, potential tax cuts, or any of our benefit programs, this is a constantly moving scenario where all the time there's updates, there's changes, there's the big beautiful bill that President Trump keeps referencing. Well, we're getting closer to finally seeing that bill. So again, if you think, okay, I'm watching this video, hopefully tomorrow it's still there, well, that's what you got to stay up to date on, because again, it's always changing and it's always evolving. So I'm going to break all this down in just a moment, explain what is going on and what could potentially be coming to you very soon. But before I do, all I ask is one thing. Takes 2 seconds. Go ahead, hit that like button if you enjoy these daily updates. And now let's begin. So over the past several days, I've been receiving many questions, but all of them pertain to one thing: additional relief to the American people. Now I'm here to tell you there is more relief coming, but it's going to come in bits and pieces. It's not just going to be a massive check like many people were first reporting. And even from Doge, the Doge dividend checks of potentially $5,000, that's not coming. Okay, it's going to be far from that. However, according to multiple reports, what Republicans and Democrats are looking at is trying to provide the American people and the average household with more than $5,000 in relief. So again, you may not see a check for $5,000, but over the course of the year, it could amount to much more. Look at this right here. It says, Doge dividend update. Here's the latest news about stimulus checks. What you need to understand is that this is something that is not going to pass immediately. If we are going to get those typical stimulus checks where you just receive money in your bank account, guess what? It's not just going to happen overnight. What's going to happen, according to multiple reports, is that they're going to pass the framework, the idea to get these Doge dividend checks out to the American people. But it's not going to come this year. The expectation, and again, this bill is still being written, but the expectation is this is going to come sometime in 2026. According to Republicans, they wanted to get it out in the summer of 2026. I don't think that's going to happen. I think more Democrats will actually push back against this. If the checks come out, it will likely be in the first quarter of 2026, so about a year away. But the big news is that they are predicting we are going to have pretty much the entire bill will be passed by this summer, which means we're going to have major updates over the next probably about 4 to 8 weeks. So we'll see what happens there. Now, I do want to show you this, though. This is something most people didn't realize. 41 states would actually tax Elon Musk's Doge dividend check. So based off of what we are currently seeing, because again, states have not put this into any bill, that if you receive a Doge dividend check from Elon Musk and the Department of Government Efficiency, whether it's $5,000, $250, or $1,000, doesn't matter, 41 states are going to tax those. They're going to tax those checks as regular income. So just be prepared. If you get a $5,000 check, which I think is highly unlikely, well, you're probably going to have to pay a little bit in taxes. Now, let me show you this, because a lot of people have been saying we are going to get to that $2 trillion goal, which means a $5,000 check. No, this is just as of yesterday. Okay, Sunday, April 20th, 2025, The new update is we're at $160 billion in savings from the Department of Government Efficiency. Last week, we were at $155 billion. The week prior, we were at $150 billion. The week before that, we were at $145 billion. And yes, every single week it's been roughly $5 billion in savings. So we are still a long ways away from even $2 trillion, okay, even $1 trillion, even $500 billion, still a long ways away. So those $5,000 checks, honestly, I don't see them coming. But the big news here is that what lawmakers want is they want to provide massive relief. Not just a $5,000 check. They want to provide overall relief. That means bringing prices down, and again, using some of that Biden math, but bringing prices down, which will save you a little bit of money, which in essence is simply like giving you a little bit of a check, right? They want to do that. They want to provide tax cuts. They want to provide additional stimulus if they can, right? Enhance or extend the child tax cuts as well. So instead of $1,000 per child, it's $2,000. Look at this right here. It says, new study about IRS reveals just how much Trump tax cuts saved you. It says Trump tax cuts particularly benefited those who earn less than $75,000. I want to play this clip for you. Listen to this right here and let me know your thoughts, because again, a lot of people are wondering, well, how much money am I going to get? Am I going to get, are they going to save me? Well, look at this.
A new study finds how much money President Trump's signature tax bill has really saved Americans. Filers earning between $50,000 to $75,000 a year saved more than $4,500. Those who made up to $100,000 saved nearly $6,000, and those who made up to $200,000 saved nearly $10,000.
Okay, I want to pause it right there. Okay, let's continue to look at this. So you see those numbers. Filers earning between $50,000 and $75,000 saved $4,500 on average. Filers between $75,000 and $100,000 saved almost $6,000. And filers earning between $100,000 and $200,000 saved $9,638. Keep in mind on this, Republicans and many lawmakers, okay, I think there's only a couple Democrats that are kind of, touting the Trump tax cuts and saying, yes, they have benefited the economy and benefited lower income households. But what we continue to see here is the same thing. When Republicans are saying, and many lawmakers are saying that we're going to give the American people a massive boost, right? An immense amount of relief. That could do it, okay? $4,500. If all of a sudden you saw pretty much a cut of $4,500 from your income, it would be noticeable. Same thing if you see an additional $4,500. That's huge. But I want to show you something, okay? How are these going to be paid for? That's the big question. Some lawmakers are saying, well, let's let Doge do what they've been doing and let them lay off people that are not doing their job. Let them go and find the waste, fraud, and abuse, and let's cut that out of our spending. Because if we reduce our spending, right, then we can take that money, 100% of it, and we can put it towards the Tax Cuts and Jobs Act extension of 2025. But there's something else. I want to show you this. Right here it says more than 5 million could lose Medicaid coverage if Fed impose work requirements. It says congressional Republicans hope those rules would save more than $100 billion over a decade. Okay. Now I want to play you this clip. Listen to this. And again, let me know your thoughts.
The White House is confident. At the same time, you have many of your colleagues now, Republican colleagues, saying that either cutting the expansion of Medicaid or maybe raising taxes.
I want to jump in really quick right here. They're talking about cutting the expansion of Medicaid. What you need to understand is that, so Medicaid was expanded, and it expanded by allowing more people in based off of raising the federal poverty limit, or not raising the limit, but according to the new update, I think this came from the Affordable Care Act. It was when they did it, but this allowed people that are making up to, I believe currently it's 138% of the federal poverty limit. If you make up to 138% of it, then you are eligible for Medicaid. This also, for children And don't quote me on this, but I believe it's like 215%. So again, it's interesting. But this is what some Republicans want to change and make modifications here. Now, not every Republican does. Some are actually going to vote against a reconciliation bill, which President Trump is trying to push forward with, and that big, beautiful bill. Some are going to vote against it if there's any cut to Medicaid. So again, keep this in mind that President Trump's plan is to fund all these different programs, right? To make sure Medicaid is not getting cut. Make sure there's people that are, if you're ineligible, yes, you're going to be pulled from the program. But he also wants to fund, again, the Tax Cuts and Jobs Act of 2020 or 2017, right? The extension of that, which most people call the Trump tax cuts. He wants to extend that. He also wants to enhance tax cuts by eliminating taxes on tips, overtime, and Social Security benefits. But how do you pay for that? That's where these cuts or potential changes to Medicaid come in. Also, saving money through Doge. But let's keep listening to this.
Well, I am confident that we are going to extend the Trump tax cut that otherwise would be expiring this year. We have seen how that really spurred the economy, how it resulted in more money in the pockets of working Americans. You know, you talked about one of the major tax cuts in recent times. We want to keep that going forward. I do have some concerns, though, about this talk of adding additional tax increases. I don't think that's appropriate.
Now, what he's talking about there is adding these additional tax increases. What they're discussing is if you are in the top 1%, okay, so that means you make, $600,000, you're married or whatever. Right? If you're in the top 1%, they want to take the tax rate from 37% up to 39.6%. So raise it by 2.6%. Now, for everybody else, in every other tax bracket, your taxes would stay the same. Your tax bracket wouldn't change. Okay? Your income would, again, the tax percentage wouldn't change. It would go up, the income would go up with inflation, right? It does every single year. That would change. But as far as the top 1%, the top tax bracket, that's what ultimately changes. And he's saying, and this is a Republican Tim Moore, okay? Let's keep listening to this.
I believe, frankly, that we have a spending problem and not a tax problem. And when it comes to the Affordable Care Act, certainly I want to make sure that we have access to health care for those people who need it. But we need to make sure we put in things, for example, like making sure there are work requirements. If someone is able-bodied...
I want to jump in here really quick. What you are seeing on the screen says the overall economic impact of Trump-era tax cut expire. A reduced disposable income, potentially slow down consumer spending. We're already seeing that, especially with tariffs as well. Business investment could decline. We've already seen that as well with tariffs, but also with higher interest rates. That's one of the reasons why President Trump is pushing the Federal Reserve Chairman Jerome Powell to lower rates so that more businesses are investing and spending in their business. Also says the federal deficit could shrink slightly. Okay? Keep this in mind. If these tax cuts do expire, yes, the federal deficit will shrink because there's more tax revenue going into it. All right? But if we don't bring down spending, it's still going to be ballooning. That says economic growth could be negatively affected. Yes, economic growth would be negatively affected if we see the tax cuts expire, because that means our income would actually be reduced because we're paying a little bit more in taxes. But again, more money would go to the federal government. So this is a win for the federal government if it expires, but it's also a loss for businesses and the overall economy. So really, which way do we go? Let's keep listening.
They ought to not be getting a handout. Secondly, we really need to make sure that only U.S. citizens are getting any of these benefits. So you can go through and you can make a lot of changes and get rid of all that. And look, think about the billions of dollars already that Doge has found in waste, fraud, and abuse. And we know that when it comes to HHS, when we know it comes to Medicaid and Medicare, a lot of these programs, there's a lot of waste, fraud, and abuse. We need to make sure those programs are shored up and take care of the people they need to take care of. But we need to get rid of where there's the waste, the fraud, and the abuse.
Okay. So there you go. Get rid of the waste, the fraud, and the abuse. Now, the last thing I want to show you, because he said Doge is saving billions of dollars. They are, technically. has saved about $160 billion is their estimated savings as of yesterday, April 20th. Again, they're far from their overall goal. Now, the reason why I'm showing you all this, trying to bring this all together, is because this is the stimulus we're going to see. Okay? And don't get me wrong, do I think there is a possibility of getting an actual stimulus check and receiving money in the mail or in your bank account? Yes, I do. Simply because, again, President Trump is fighting against Jerome Powell. I don't see a positive sign coming out of this. Just today, the stock market was selling off. And it was selling off because President Trump is calling out the Federal Reserve Chairman, Jerome Powell. Just lower interest rates. Lower them. He's almost begging him to lower rates. Because again, if we can lower rates, then there's going to be some additional spending. Right? So there's going to be some changes. The economy wouldn't be hit as hard. And President Trump could move forward with additional tariffs. And by moving forward with tariffs, at the same time we're bringing interest rates down, there's likely going to be additional inflation. But at the same time, that means there's additional spending. So a lot of stuff going on right now. All I can tell you is that other countries, I think Germany and China are two of them, that are offering stimulus to their citizens. And the reason why they're doing that is because this is going to help amid all these tariff talks. So we'll see what happens. But the good news right now is yes, every single lawmaker is in agreement that there's some relief coming, that they are supportive of the relief. They're just trying to figure out and hammer out the details as to what that relief looks like. Is it going to be tax cuts? Is it going to be tax credits? Is it going to be enhancements? Is it going to be additional increases for Social Security, SNAP benefits, or other programs like that? Or are we just going to see a stimulus check hit our bank accounts? Well, as we get more updates, I promise I will bring those to you as soon as possible. But as of today, that is what we know. So again, thank you guys for watching. Consider subscribing, and I'll see you guys on the next one.